963 times 0.104, and then the final number down here. This is based upon correct or wrong out of 15 points. This would be based upon, do you have at any moment in time or any time duration, is it only have one answer? And this would be, did you go from positive to negative without going through zero? So if you did not, if you had no big gaps in the space-time continuum, this should be a 1. If you have one answer per moment in time, that should be a 1. And so anyway, that's what those numbers mean. I will write on there the number of points out of 10, just because that's the way my spreadsheet sets it up, and then whenever you get in the end, I multiply times 1.5, which is why that would be out of 15. But if you, so you got the position greater than 0, equal to 0, less than 0. If you see a big check mark, they're all right. If I wrote, say, 5.9, 6.3, 7.2, then that means that out of 10, you got 7.2 points, 6.3 points, and 5.9 points for each of those. Somebody got this, some people got this yesterday. All right, questions at the moment?
What is BOD?
Oh, BOD, benefit of doubt. It means I was debating whether to take points off or not, and I decided not to. If you see BOSD, that's benefit of some doubt, which means I probably took some points off, but not as many as I considered. The G, something like that, means given. If it's just like this, it's probably it's correct given the previous answer, or if I have an X there, that means it's wrong given the previous answer. So then BOD, benefit of doubt, BOSD, benefit of some doubt. Oh, and another one that shows up on some of them, NHMW, not how math works. I saw some interesting, very out-of-the-box thinking on math. But it could be that you're absolutely brilliant and I'm not smart enough to understand it, but it definitely is against the math that I was taught. So, for instance, 4x equals 3, minus 4, and you get x equals -1. Something like that, you would see not how math works. Because you should divide by 4, not subtract 4. Other questions? All right, we go to 12:20, right? Yeah. Oh, when I figure out what your grade is, it goes back to my first year here, and I had a student who couldn't do multiple choice, but could do free response very easily. But multiple choice just was the bane of his existence. And so he was getting low grades, and I thought, this just isn't fair, because obviously he knows the material. For some reason, he's just not handling that. So I thought, well, suppose I looked at it differently, and I calculated the grade a different way, and came out with something that seemed fair. So what I do is I actually figure out what your raw score grade is 4 different ways, and those are the 4 numbers at the top. I take the largest of those 4 numbers, and that's what the grade is based on.
Out of 100?
Pardon?
Out of 100?
Out of 108 for this particular test. The system is also set up so that if there's a question that everybody missed, it's probably a bad question and that gets thrown out. That assumes that there's not conspiracy. I've had probably one class, maybe two, where I thought they could pull that conspiracy off, but, yeah, if there's conspiracy, then I won't throw it out. But to date, I'm not aware of any of that.
So the highest number out of the four question.
The highest number out of the four is the one that I used when I figured out the letter grade.
What does CT mean?
CC?
CT.
I got the number.
Oh, that's a plus.
Oh. Never knows my grade then.
I will say if these were because I know there are test corrections, the last test, if the numbers were like this, I'd probably be a little bit kinder on the letter grade. But on the first test, you got time to actually show you the material. I will say that typically, and I might have mentioned this before, the people at the lower echelon have a lot more work to do. The people at the higher echelon tend to go, I'm probably good with that grade, or just hit the low-hanging fruit. So very few people get full credit. It has been done, but just be aware, at the extremes, you've got the people who have less incentive to boost their grade, and the people who have just got a lot more work to do. So it depends on what's going on in your life at the moment. But again, my 2-week deadline is so that you get it off your plate. I don't want it hanging around on your head with a couple more weeks to go. Nathan?
Could you explain how the test corrections work?
All right. Test corrections. So if you got an A, that's a 4.0. You can bring it up to an A+, which is a 4.3. If you got an F, you can bring that up to a C, which is a 2.0. And so that sets up a scale. So original grade and best possible. So we have original grade 0 can be brought up to a 2. And a 4 can be brought up to an A+. And that basically sets up the graph. So if you got a C, then best you can do is a 3.15. If you have a plus, that's a 0.3. So a C is a 2, a C plus is a 2.3, a C minus is a 1.7, and scaling from there, a B is a 3, a D is a 1. So if you got, we'll just pick easy numbers. Let's say that it was a 120-point test and you got 50. So 50 out of 120, we'll just pretend it's a C, just so the math works out nicely. So that's a 2. So if that's a C, that means you missed 70 points. So you're trying to convince me that you understand those 70 points that you missed. So you hand it in, you've shown your work, and you've convinced me that you understand, we'll just say, half of that. So out of the 70 points that you missed, you convinced me that you understand half of that. So I get it. So you'll get half of the possible points back that you would have gotten. So since your grade could have gone up from a 2 to a 3.15, in other words, the grade difference is a 1.15, so you could have boosted your overall grade by 1.15, but you got half of it. You convinced me for half of it, so I times 1/2, and then I add that to your original grade. I guess that's where the math is not as simple, but that in essence is it.
But on the corrections, you're looking for the right answer, and why is the right answer?
Yes, if you write down just the right answer, that get nothing. Because you looked at either somebody who got it right, or you asked me and I told you what the right answer was. Sometimes, and I've been really bad this semester about this kind of thing, but sometimes I actually just post, here are the right answers. I don't tell how you get them, I just say what they are.
Do you want like a paragraph of why it's right, or just the math is okay?
The math could be okay if that's enough of an explanation. I could read the math. So why use words when you could write it symbolically? But for some people, writing out the words works better for them. Algebra used to not be symbolic. Still impressive that people could solve those problems without the symbolic language, but hey, I guess it's how your brain works. All right. Tomorrow's lab is going to be a centripetal motion lab, and then Thursday we will get into momentum and energy. Primarily momentum. A different way of looking at the exact same thing.